Scott Wong has worked in higher education for 19 years. He has served at several colleges and universities, both in and out of the CCC. His roles include working as a resident director, director of student leadership, and a director of multicultural affairs, as well as teaching intergroup dialogue as a faculty member at the University of Michigan. He currently serves as the Associate Dean of Student Engagement at his alma mater, Gordon College, where he received his bachelor's in business administration. He went on to earn his master's in higher education from Geneva College and earned his ED from the University of Pittsburgh in social and comparative analysis of education. Scott is passionate about social justice and advancing the work through his faith and academic discipline. He loves to develop and learn with students inside and outside of the classroom and collaborate with colleagues to create environments of belonging. Scott, I want to welcome you to the Coming Home podcast. Our first question for you today is this. What does coming home mean to you?
I think coming home for me is, as I get older, it's a realization of my Korean culture. The more I mature and become a father and want to instill different things in them, I have this desire to connect with my parents more and what their upbringing was like. I have a sense of, as a child, I didn't communicate with them. As a child, there is a language barrier, there is a culture barrier, and I just kind of took that as it was. But now I see coming home as understanding my parents' upbringings, their difficulties, their trials, their context, and even coming to America as they immigrated. I empathize now more in a way of being a dad and the struggles and what that is. And so, and I was born in America, so I can't imagine for them coming, not knowing anyone, not knowing the language. And I'm peeling back the onion a little bit, hearing about the difficulties, the trials, really impoverished struggles. If I get my dad going, sometimes he'll talk about his time in the military. He served in the Navy in Korea, and it was active. It was like active military stuff that he was doing. So things like that, the struggles. So that way I get a deeper understanding. I think before I resented that, or I just didn't want to know because I felt like it was a culture clash because I was American. But coming home is really connecting to my parents' culture and trying to understand, trying to empathize and give them grace and have difficult conversations about why didn't you let me do this or what was going on with this. As a teenager, you don't think about that. You're just like, you're trying to grab my style, you're just being strict, or like, what's up with that? And then also, I talked about the language barrier too. Like, I grew up in a bilingual home. So my parents speak Korean, I speak English to them, still to this day. And so there's probably like 25% lost in translation on both sides. So it's being intentional with the time as I get older and want to just grow in my understanding of my culture and how that integrates with my faith and different things. Yeah.
Gordon College has grown in diversity amongst its faculty, staff, and students since your time here as a student. What is the significance of that to you?
That's huge. I remember coming to my first year orientation, and there was four of us, four Korean students. And then I came and everybody else came, and there was, 25 students of color, including international students when I was here. There was one faculty who was Asian, I think at the time. There was one, no, there's two. Dr. George was still here. There is one black professor. Yeah, there was no administrators. There's nobody in any leadership type of role that was a minority. So to see that, to see you and have a position like that is huge. To have several faculty, to have a big I think we're at like 30% students of color, including international students, something like that. Um, so it's really encouraging to see. And it's very cool to see how things have changed. There's intentionality. When I was here, we had Alana, and that was it because there wasn't enough students to have specific groups. So I was super encouraged now that we have Asia and Afrohamwe and La Raza, amongst other groups. So it's really encouraging to see that. There's a long way to go, but to see the positionality, to see administrators in these positions, to see more faculty. So Dr. Jin, who's no longer here, she was the one professor that I ever had that was Asian. I was too scared to take Dr. George's classes, so I didn't take her classes. But Dr. Jin, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have graduated college because I wanted to change my major. I wanted to do certain things, and she knew as a Chinese American, like that's a big deal. Like you don't just like change your major without talking to your parents, right? And so, and she knew the cultural clashes I had with my parents. She knew she could just empathize and understood what I was struggling with. And so what turned into just taking one class because I was interested turned into a whole minor. And I would meet with her weekly and she would encourage me. And I struggled a lot academically before I had her. And then after having her as a professor, that's when I started finding just more confidence in myself, really believing that I could do this, that I belonged here. I think that's another thing too of I didn't necessarily felt like I belonged here because there wasn't a lot of us here. And so that was huge. So I'm glad to see us diversify more, and hopefully students are encouraged that they see people in different positions and have more people that can relate to them. So, yeah.
What drew you as a Korean American student from the West Coast all the way over here to the New England area?
So that's a long story. I grew up in California. I never really thought about leaving. I never even heard about Christian colleges or considered that at all. I randomly signed up for getting some information from Azusa Pacific, which was right down the road from me. And that must have put me on some list, little known to me. And so got invited to a Christian college fair. That's where I was exposed to Gordon for the first time. So I had a bunch of Christian college pamphlets. My youth pastor happened to come over for dinner that week and saw these, and he said, "Are you going to apply to these schools?" I was like, "No, I don't. I'm good. I don't think so." And he pulled out Gordon. He's like, "You should think about this." My mom overheard the conversation, and my youth pastor left, and she's like, "You're going to apply to Gordon?" And I was like, "I guess I'm applying to Gordon then." So what I didn't know at the time was that Gordon Conwell had a lot of influence over Korean pastors in the church. And so that was a really renowned school. And so as soon as my parents started talking about Gordon with their friends and at church and different things, they're like, "Oh, that's a really good school. He should go. He should go." I got in. And for me, it wasn't necessarily, well, it was a couple things. I want to get away from my parents. I wanted some independence. And so the idea of that sounded good. And now looking back, I think God really spared me because I wasn't really mature in my faith at that point. If I ended up going to a big secular school, I probably would have dropped out or failed, gotten caught up in the wrong crowd. So I think God really spared me in that way. So the intention was always to come back to California, but that wasn't God's plan either. But and I put two and two together for myself of like, that kind of took some guts to go across the country. I didn't know anybody at all. Gain some independence, and I'm like, I wonder where that came from. And then I talked to my mom, and she was 24, 25, and she left left Korea. She was a nurse and decided, let's go, let's do this adventure, and left. Came with a couple relatives and kind of did this thing without really knowing English, without really having family or friends established in the United States. And she did that, right? And so I'm like, oh, I can kind of see it. I could kind of see where I got that from. So yeah, and it changed my life, and here I am. So
Awesome,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
Can you talk to us about what it was like growing up in Los Angeles? What was diversity like there? What were some of the challenges that you faced growing up there?
Yeah. LA is a very diverse place. I grew up with all types of ethnicities and races in my school, K through 12. Um, White people were the minority in a lot of ways, outside of like teachers and administrators. But yeah, it was a very diverse place. But when I grew up there, I grew up going to a Korean American church in Koreatown. And in fifth grade, 1992, Rodney King beatings happened, the LA riots happened. And I remember going to church. The riots had happened. I remember driving to church, and the whole neighborhood was burned down. And the only thing that was left was my church. And as a fifth grader, I was like, okay, this is bad. Something really, really bad is happening. And what caused this to happen? And I think that was the seed that really planted for me, that sticks out of, hey, this is gonna be your thing. You're gonna do racial reconciliation. You're gonna do social justice. You're gonna do diversity work. And this is gonna be the seed that's planted now. And so, as a fifth grader, you don't think about these things, but a lot of the tension happened in Koreatown. There was a Korean American, or not a Korean liquor store owner who shot a young black teenager. And that was like the huge tension of black versus Korean communities. I didn't know that at the time. I was just a kid, right? So I had friends, and I would just invite all types of people. I had lots of really good black friends. And my parents were like, cool with that though. Like I appreciate that now. This is one of the things in maturity and growth.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm like, they could have gave me a hard time, or they could have been like, what are you doing? But they didn't do that. Like that was their progressiveness, I think, of like embracing me being American. I see that now. I didn't see it at the time. And yeah, be friends who you want to be friends with. We're going to be hospitable and serve them food and do all the things. And so that's cool to reflect now. I didn't realize that now. But as a fifth grader, you're not watching the news or thinking about that type of stuff, right? So, and then I think also there's been this shift for Asian Americans and Korean Americans and pop culture and K-pop and all that stuff. When I was a kid, that stuff wasn't cool. Like that was, you tried to suppress that stuff.
Right.
Because I almost wanted to like not embrace that at all, because I would have been judged or like, what's wrong with you, or type of thing, right? So that's been a huge shift too of just Korean American culture, K-dramas, K-pop. I remember I was back working as the Clarendon Scholar director here, and Gangnam Style came on the radio, on regular radio. And I was floored. I was like, what? They're playing a Korean song on pop radio. This is crazy. Because I had seen that from my like older cousins and different things, and they really embraced that as they went to college. But I like tried to deny that stuff, because I'm like, I'm gonna be judged. Like, you listen to Korean music? Like, what's wrong with you? So that shift in my lifetime was mind blowing. And so BTS, all that stuff, K-dramas. I remember watching that or listening to that in the background with my cousins or my aunts, and but I didn't embrace that at all. So that was a huge shift as well.
Yeah. One of the top 3 Asian dishes you can't live without.
compound chicken.
중장국.
I'll say kimchi.
I'd say 간장게장.
굴갈비, 갈비찜,
음.
kimchi, 떡볶이, ramen.
Right. As each of you think about your own Asian heritage or so, what are some of the things that your parents instilled in you?
My parents definitely taught me a lot about Korean culture through food. Food is a big part of our household. So just being introduced to a lot of different types of Korean foods, and also Korean dramas. That's like something our family loves to do together while eating dinner. And that's also kind of how I learned how to speak a lot of Korean and understand a lot of Korean.
So, in just talking about this, why is celebrating Asian American Pacific Islander Month meaningful to you?
Yeah, I think for me, because I tried to deny my Korean heritage, my Asian heritage, and tried to assimilate early on in my life, and even at Gordon too. It's important for me now to be proud of those things and to learn and to engage and to celebrate. It gives me a reminder of connecting with my family and my parents and the sacrifices that they made. It gives me a reminder to pass that on to my kids. I would not be in the position that I am now without the sacrifices that my parents made, and my sister, to be quite frank. She is brilliant. She's the perfect Asian child, not joking. Perfect SAT, academic scholarship. But if she didn't get that academic scholarship, I wouldn't have been able to come to Gordon. So it's just important to pass along those stories, the sacrifices, to reflect, to celebrate, to embrace those things. And that hits home to me more because, I spent several years denying that. So, yeah.
Your background is in intergroup dialogue. What are some of the conversations we should be having more specifically around Asian American Pacific Islander?
So I think for Asians in general, there's a bias when we think about East Asian versus West Asian. And whenever we think of Asian cultures, we think about Japanese, Chinese, Korean, but there's a lot more Asian countries. There's a lot more, what's the word? Just, this is where my mind doesn't work well. Just the denial of different cultures and ethnicities and stories. There's a lot of politics and government involved in these Asian countries in which they were taken over by foreign countries, different things like that. Embracing that. I know within one of the really interesting things that happened during the Black Lives Matter movement was there was an embrace by Asians and Korean Americans, particularly in Los Angeles, that did Black Lives Matter rallies, which was like amazing to see that contrast compared to 30, 40 years ago when there's clips of Korean American store owners with their guns like shooting at people trying to protect their store. And then now they're allies and advocating for Black lives after George Floyd. So these are the conversations. What are the tensions? What are the histories? I think for a big one too is we think about the tension between Japanese and Korean culture and Japanese taking over and the amount of pain and different things that occurred. But those are generational things. Those are things that happened a long time ago. And I think the hate and is taught and passed along. I have Japanese friends. I have Japanese American friends. And so it's on me now to like, let's talk about it. Let's recognize those things. Let's recognize the histories and the pain. But that doesn't mean I hold that against you either. That's a part of the healing and the reconciliation. And I think a big part of it too is like, we don't ignore it. We don't say, oh, don't worry about it. Let's have those conversations. Let's talk about how that affected my parents and my grandparents, and let's humanize each other in the story of those things. So, yeah.
Can you tell us about what your experience has been like in your return to Gordon so far?
It's been pretty surreal. I never thought I'd be back here. Appreciated my time, loved my time. Some of my best friends I still talk to this day, text on a daily basis, are from Gordon. But what's been really cool is to see that there's people still around. I referenced Ivy George. She was around. Chris Carlson. There's a worker in Lane. His name's Marvin, and he washes dishes. He was washing dishes when I was a student, and got to reconnect with him, and to see familiar places. It feels like home here, and to have my kids be here and live here and walk around, be able to come eat in Lane, and experience these things. It's been really fun. It's been really cool. But also sobering, like there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of things Gordon can get better at. And but that's what gets me excited too. Like that's a big part of why I'm here. I love to strategize and help to make Gordon a better place. So it's been all the emotions, all mostly good, mostly exciting and surreal. So yeah.
When was the last time that you visited Korea or South Korea, and what feelings emerged for you as you were there?
I was very young. I was in elementary school, probably like first or second grade. So as far back as I can remember,
Yeah.
but I remember there's distinct things I remembered. I remember meeting my grandmother for the first time. I remember the cultural things of, so on my mom's side, who's mostly in America, she's the youngest daughter, and I'm the youngest daughter's son, and I was the youngest cousin. So if you're talking about a pecking order, I was like at the bottom of the pecking order, which meant anytime we got together for holidays or different things, my cousin's like, go get me this, go get me this. I had to like serve them and all this. But when I was in Korea, my dad is the oldest son, and I'm the oldest son's son. So I'm at the top. And I remember doing like, I want ice cream, or I want a toy, or, like a little kid would always ask. And somebody would run out and go get it. Like, and I'd be like, whoa, this is cool. I want to stay here. So like that was a shift. And then I distinctly remember this. I remember somehow in my mind, I knew nobody could speak English or understand English. So then I was able to like speak Korean to my cousins and to my grandmother. It must have been like survival mode, or like this thing where I could just, not like amazing, but I could just do it and get by, and it was fine. So yeah, those are things that I remember. I'd love to go back. I haven't had the chance to, but hopefully we could take our kids and go soon. Yeah.
As a father, how do you involve your kids in learning about their Korean heritage?
So what's cool here is I have a really good friend who's Korean American, and he has kids, and his brother is Korean American, and we're all here. And so we actually have kids who are biracial. They're both Korean and white. And we're really intentional. We kind of created this community where we celebrate Lunar New Year. They dress up in hanboks, and there's a ceremony where you have to bow to your elders, and then you get money. We have birthdays where we celebrate and we do these things, and have traditional Korean food. There's things like Dole, which is like the 100 days. When a baby survives 100 days, you have like a party. We did that. And then the first birthday, there's a ceremony where you dress up and you have like different things like money and a book and a stethoscope and these things. And the 1-year-old grabs it, and that's what you're gonna be We did those things with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And what they'll might they don't remember that, but they will from pictures and different things, and hopefully they'll get to do that stuff. So not just food, and my kids are curious about Korean. I think one of the things that they're trying to figure out is how do they communicate with my parents, because they can't understand Korean. They can understand English, and so they're always asking about how do you say certain words or how do you do these things. So we're always having those conversations of just language, and hopefully they can take Korean school and different things. That's one of my regrets. I could have taken Korean school. My mom gave me a choice, but as a kid, you're like, I don't want to do any more school. So regret that. But I think my kids have shown interest in that, and so we might try to do that with them. And just don't want to lose those things. Don't want to lose the traditions. Don't want to lose the language, because I'm definitely not passing it on to them. So hopefully they can be engaged and learn that type of stuff.
Yeah. Outside of Gordon, what does fun look like for you?
Right now it's just family time. It's spending time with the kids, being outside, hiking, going to the beach, just being active. My kids love being outside, so even if it's winter, we're sledding or doing different things. But for me, I love the ocean. I love the beach. So to be back at Gordon is really great to just to see that again, to smell. And I think there's something healing for me about the beach, because I grew up on the West Coast and went to the beach often, and now I get to do it again. So lot of outside nature time. I'm a foodie too, so love cooking, love going to different places. It's not as easy to go out with kids, so that's on hold, but that's okay. That's okay. So yeah.
What are your top 3 Korean dishes that you can't live without?
My mom's kimchi, specifically my mom's kimchi for sure. I love it's called sengson jjigae, which is like a fish stew. It's like a spicy fish stew, one of my favorites. And probably karbi, which is beef short rib. Yeah.
All right. And lastly, you're from LA.
Yep.
So got to throw this question at you.
Right. All right.
Who are your top 5 Lakers of all time?
Top 5. That's a good question. So Kareem's in there for sure. James Worthy's in there. Shaq's in there. Magic Johnson and Kobe. LeBron, it's all right. You're not really a Laker. It's all right. It's all right. I appreciate what you're doing now, but you're not in my top 5. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's it, brother.
All right, man.
Thanks for
Appreciate
coming
it. Thanks for the time.
All right.
Yeah.
Man. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.